good afternoon, whenever you're watching this. This is part 3 of the Messiah unaliving in a New York prison.
We've been watching how this whole thing has been unfolding regarding the corrections officers up there in Utica. And the details are horrendous. And this is not the only time this has happened. This right here has been happening. I got inboxes full of people, man, who their children or their loved ones are going through this same type stuff, but nobody speaks. The only reason they got caught is because they had body camera footage and other inmates started speaking up like they're doing now with other cases. But what happened to Messiah should not have happened. This right here is just some of the officers right here. These are the monsters right here who tortured Messiah. And then they tried to cover it up. But there's a lot more. They haven't even named the other ones and stuff except on paper by name. And I'm working on that right there, but I do have their names. It's totally sad. It's wrong. All this right here never should have happened. I'm going to let you guys listen to what the prosecutor has to say. I'm going to let you, as far as everything that has happened, everything that went on, all the cover up, all of that stuff, you know, trying to hide body cam footage, you know, making up paperwork. So those that have loved ones that are in prisons and stuff, don't stop. Don't stop talking. Don't stop crying out loud. Don't stop at all, because this right here, this is totally unwarranted, totally sad and everything. He went there serving a 5-year sentence, and all because he spoke up for somebody else. That shows you his character, shows you the kind of heart that he has.
People are able to show that all was well in Building 21 where Mr. Nantwi resided. I know that because the corrections officer who was assigned to do rounds on that occasion walked past his room at approximately 10:55 a.m. and there was nothing going on. At about 10:58 a.m., a call went out over the radio at the facility calling for backup. The evidence will show that when the CERT team responded and got there at approximately 11 a.m., there was virtually no or minimal effort to determine what was the need for the backup, what the nature of the call was. No weapons were observed and no assaultive behavior was observed by the CERT team members as they entered Building 21. A non-CERT team member, a corrections officer, recorded the last video of Mr. Nantwi before the alleged assault, and he was no longer able to communicate. That corrections officer exited the room, and various CERT team members entered. None of them, to our knowledge at this point, were wearing mandated body-worn cameras. Approximately 4.5 minutes later, Mr. Nantwi is removed from his room and taken down 3 sets of stairs, where it is alleged by the grand jury that an additional assault occurred in the stairwell. Handcuffed and taken to the infirmary and laid on the floor in a holding cell, an additional assault is alleged to have occurred by the grand jury. It was determined by the Onondaga County Medical Examiner that Mr. Nantwi died from traumatic brain injuries as a result of violent blows to his head, as well as at least 69 other serious blows about his body.
There was a point where 2 of them took off their body cam footage. They took out their body cam and hung it in the bathroom and didn't realize that it was still recording. And it caught them conspiring to cover this up and several other things. They even tried to place a weapon in his cell to say that he was armed. Now, there's a lot of other officers that were there, and they resigned. These right here, they all resigned. All of these right here were suspended without pay. Like I said, there's a lot of them that wasn't named. There are some that are cooperating and everything, but they still were part of that. Every single one of them. That's like almost the entire staff, ain't it? This is totally sad. Continue lifting up Messiah's family. Come together as a village, but also continue crying out. I mean, there's a lot of our family members that are in these prisons, and they are being treated unfairly. You go there to serve a sentence to get it over with, to come back out rehabilitated. You don't go there not to come back out. You don't go there to be deceased. There are other ones that I am working on, and I'm going to bring those to you also. Just been trying to put them together, because this right here is not the only incident. The other one with Mr. Robert, that wasn't the only incident. This is happening rampantly, and then the families get lied to and say, oh, another inmate did it, or this right here happened, or that. That's why they don't want you to have any kind of camera footage or anything like that. But you need to get you an attorney ASAP to request that camera footage, do a FOIA request to get that evidence, to get it preserved, because they're trying to cover stuff up. And this has been going on.
Hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you are watching this video. This is a very sad video that I am recording. I can't believe 10 guards decide to really hurt this man. From what I understand, he spoke up for another inmate, and then they said that I heard another one said that they started beating him through a protest because they were protesting or something. It's like, I think it's HALT. They were protesting it's the solitary confinement. That's what they were protesting. And they just decided to stomp him 16 times in the head, beat him, and everything. And this reminds me of the case, I think that happened last year around December with Robert Brooks. He also got beating, and they say that this is not out of the ordinary. This is common, and there's more people speaking out about this. But I can't believe this is not talked about. It's not worldwide, and it's only in New York. And I don't understand why people are not talking about how this is. That these demons just think that they can beat up a prisoner just because they want to. And they're saying that it's happening more to blacks than any other race in the prison. And I think that that's really sad. I don't know. I never really went to prison before, but people say you do the crime, you do the time, and whatever happens to you. But I don't think that you should be punched and stomped to death just because of what you did on the outside or because of what you look like. And I think my personal view, I don't think it was because of his skin color. I think it's because he spoke up against what was happening against another inmate, and they don't like that. Because in the first part, this guy was talking, and he said that if they didn't kill Messiah, they would finish him. And he was a white dude or a Latino dude. I can't tell. The lines are blurred. And they were going to finish him off, I guess, unalive him. This is crazy. This is sad. And they're shutting down prisons, but they don't want to reform the prisons. And I hope that these people's families will end up suing the prison. 10 New York prison guards were charged Wednesday in connection with the fatal beating of a 22-year-old inmate last month. Yes, he died March 1st. They said from head trauma, including 2 charged with murder. It's the second time a group of correctional officers in the state was indicted for a death behind bars this year. Messiah, a prisoner at the Mid-State Correctional Facility, died March 1st from injuries he sustained in a series of beatings by guards that began in his room and continued even when he was lying handcuffed on the floor in the infirmary. The indictment says that's sad. These pathetic ass demons. And then you want to get in the courtroom and cry, but you wasn't crying when you was beating this boy. Pathetic ass motherfuckers. 6 of the officers charged Wednesday were accused of assaulting Messiah, while the other 4 were accused of participating in a cover-up that included filing false reports, plotting to plant a makeshift knife, and cleaning up blood in Messiah's room in an effort to destroy evidence. All entered not plead guilt. The situation has resolved itself by the time the response team arrived. The correctional officers spoke with the guard members for only a few seconds before entering Messiah's room. Messiah's hands were raised when the officers first entered the room, but he objected to being handcuffed for no apparent reason and grabbed the guard's vest. And the indictment says several guards immediately rained blows on his head and body, using their fists, batons, and boots. The document says the attack intensified when Messiah bit Blair and Ilk on their hands while their guards began assaulting him, according to the indictment. Well, I mean, if you're being jumped and you're being handcuffed, I mean, all you got is your mouth to protect you, sorta, right? But just because he said he don't want to be handcuffed didn't warrant this beating. These are monsters. Messiah became unresponsive and guards transported him toward the infirmary, but there was assaulted a second time in a stairwell and dumped in a holding cell at the infirmary for further assault. The indictment says the guards on the team were not wearing mandated body cameras, while others worked there either turned off their cameras or simply looked the other way. Guards met a local diner the next morning to incorporate a false narrative to attempt at an amateurish and ineffective cover-up. Part of the cover-up involved taking a weapon that had been confiscated in an unrelated incident and planting it in Messiah's room, the indictment alleges. Farron was caught discussing the weapon on a body cam hanging up in the men's room at the infirmary, it says. When he spotted the camera, he uttered an expletive. Hey, man, y'all getting caught. That's God, man. God's putting y'all on blast. In addition to 10 guards, 6 other correctional officers agreed to cooperate with the investigation. 2 will plead guilty to felonies, and 4 will plead guilty to misdemeanors. Prison officials said all 10 guards charged Wednesday have either resigned or been suspended without pay. No, they need to get fired and then thrown in jail and burned. Governor Kathy Hochul has ordered the commissioner to begin the termination process for workers involved in Messiah's death. Messiah entered the state prison system last May and had been serving a 5-year sentence for second-degree criminal possession of a weapon related in exchange of fire gun with police officers in 2021. He was shot multiple times while officers were injured. Oh my gosh. Prosecutors in Manhattan say Messiah shot and killed Jalen Duncan, 19, on a Harlem street in April 2023. The following evening, they say he shot and killed Brendan Brunson, 36, at a Harlem smoke shop after an argument. What? What? And you're only serving 5 years? And you shot in cold blood? Some people just get lucky. But this doesn't warrant for you to get beaten and then unalived by criminals, gang members. And like they say, police always stick together. They're the number one dangerous gang. But rest in peace to you.
So, 10 guards have been charged with the beating that unalived Messiah Nantwi at 22 years old. He was an inmate at Mid-State Correctional Facility in New York. 10 guards to beat this man so he was no longer here. He did pass away on March 1st, but they just unsealed the indictment today, and they did the indictment today in court, and all 10 were charged. Now, he did pass from massive head trauma and multiple injuries to his body, and they calculated that it is about a total of 69 injuries to his body in total. Now, the details that they provided to kind of explain what took place on March 1st are 2 officers were sent to his room to assist the National Guard. They are not sure what the original reason was that they were called to the room by the National Guard, but they went to the room to assist the National Guard with whatever their concerns were about him. Officers Blair and Levi are the 2 that were sent to the room, and they started beating him multiple times all over his body with boots. And then 8 additional officers entered the room, and at one point he had his hands raised up to kind of, I guess, display that he did not have any weapons on him. So that is possible that they were thinking he had a weapon on him, and that's why they originally came in the room. But he had his hands up to indicate, I don't have a weapon on me, so that they can search him for that. Now, he asked why he was being restrained, and in the process of that, he ended up grabbing a guard's vest, and then immediately after he grabbed that vest, was met with an immediate violent assault. The attack quickly escalated after he bit the hands of Blair and Eek and became unresponsive in the midst of, and they took him to the infirmary. Now, court docs state he was assaulted a second time in the stairwell and then dumped in a holding cell where Blair continued the assault. And to no surprise, the prosecutor did state there was no legitimate reason for this level of violence. And if you remember, this facility is not too far from where the Robert Brooks situation took place, so we have 20 correctional officers in total being charged with the crime of unaliving inmates. People doing time for the crimes they have been found guilty of does not mean that a correctional officer is now given the authority to take their life at their hands because they want to.
I always say this, put the crime aside. Put the crime aside. The same individuals who's up here like, oh, we not worried about Robert Brooks, black women, what y'all doing? Well, I'm worried about Messiah now because he's no longer with us because of the correctional officers too. Robert Brooks had 6 officers indicted for his death. Messiah is 10 officers. 10. And he died during the strike. They beat him during the strike. Yeah, the officers went on strike allegedly because they felt like they were not being protected and that nobody cared about them and whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop, all these things, right? But yet, while your fellow officers are on strike, y'all in there abusing inmates. Y'all ignoring medical situations too. Kathy Hochul, I think they need more training because that oath shit is out the window for them. This is crazy.
I don't know if y'all know, but New York prisons are killing people.